Observe the modern dating landscape for even a few moments, and you will notice a cold, undeniable shift in human dynamics. Men everywhere are finding themselves blindsided, emotionally exhausted, and discarded by partners they gave their absolute best to. You give a woman your loyalty, your resources, your protection, and your genuine heart, only to watch her walk away without a single tear, treating years of shared history like an expired receipt. It leaves good men questioning their own reality, wondering how someone who claimed to love them could instantly turn so cold, calculating, and indifferent. The truth is, most men are completely blind to the primitive, psychological, and evolutionary forces that drive female behavior. Arthur Schopenhauer, one of history's most uncompromising thinkers, was one of the few philosophers brave enough to pull back the curtain on this exact dynamic. In his famous essay on women, Schopenhauer argued that men are perpetually blinded by sexual desire, causing them to project noble, angelic qualities onto women that simply do not exist in nature. He observed that nature wired men to look at the world through logic, long-term idealism, and romantic devotion, while wiring women for immediate survival, hypergamy, and social adaptation. Schopenhauer wrote, "Men are by nature indifferent to one another, but women are by nature enemies." When you understand this philosophical foundation, the confusing and cold behavior of modern women suddenly makes total, logical sense. To call a woman evil in this context is not an emotional insult, but an accurate description of a human being who lacks empathy and views men purely as tools for personal gain. A dark, manipulative woman does not view your kindness as a virtue. She views it as a blood signal of weakness. She recognizes that a good man with soft boundaries can be exploited for attention, financial comfort, social status, and emotional validation. She will keep you around just long enough to drain your energy, rebuild her own confidence on your back, and secure a better option behind your back. This isn't an accident. It is a cold, calculated strategy executed by a mind that views human relationships as a game of extraction. This predatory dynamic has reached an absolute extreme in the modern era, creating a dating marketplace where a tiny fraction of men hold all the leverage. You have likely noticed that the vast majority of women are all chasing the same small group of top-tier men, the top 1%. These are the men who possess exceptional wealth, high social status, striking physical appearance, or absolute mental dominance. In the past, cultural standards and traditional values forced women to settle with local, honest, hardworking men. But today, the floodgates of global connectivity have unleashed a woman's raw, unfiltered, hypergamous instinct. Hypergamy is the deeply ingrained psychological desire to mate only with a man who is superior in status to herself. A woman would rather share a small fraction of a top-tier man's attention alongside 10 other women than give her full loyalty, heart, and youth to an average, honest man who adores her. This hypergamous reality is why average, good-hearted men find themselves constantly ignored, rejected, or used. A woman looks at a decent man who works hard, treats her nicely, and communicates openly, and her primitive instincts feel absolutely nothing. She does not feel safety or deep attraction. She feels boredom. To her subconscious mind, a man who is instantly available, overly nice, and eager to please represents low value. She thinks, if he is trying this hard to impress me, he must not have better options. Meanwhile, the top 1% man treats her with cold indifference, refuses to chase her, and puts his own life mission above her existence. That exact emotional distance triggers her deepest chase instinct. She desires the man she cannot easily control, and she disrespects the man who surrenders his power to her on a silver platter. Because modern women are constantly exposed to this top tier of men online, their expectations have become completely detached from reality. If this video brings value to your life, hit the subscribe button and join the journey. I appreciate your support. An average woman now believes she deserves a king, while offering nothing in return except her physical presence. When an average man comes into her life with good intentions, she does not see a partner to build a life with. She sees a stepping stone. She will gladly accept his dates, consume his energy, take his gifts, and lean on his shoulder for emotional support during hard times. But she is not investing in him. She is using him as a free resource to maintain her lifestyle and boost her self-esteem while she waits for a top-tier man to notice her. She keeps the good man in a perpetual state of hopeful uncertainty, giving him just enough affection to keep him hooked, but never enough loyalty to give him real peace. This leads directly to one of the most toxic dynamics in modern relationships. A woman using a good man's pure intentions merely to feed her own insatiable ego. A man in love naturally wants to give. He wants to protect his woman, compliment her, buy her gifts, handle her problems, and make her feel like the most special person in the world. He believes that by demonstrating his devotion, he is building a deeper emotional bond. But a self-centered woman processes this devotion entirely differently. She does not feel gratitude. She feels a surge of ego validation. Your heartfelt compliments, your late-night text messages, and your willingness to bend over backward do not make her love you more. They simply convince her that she is higher value than you. Your genuine goodness becomes fuel for her arrogance. Every time you apologize for something you didn't do just to stop an argument, her ego grows and her respect for you shrinks. Every time you forgive her toxic behavior, she learns that your boundaries are fake and your standards are non-existent. She begins to view your kindness not as strength, but as desperate submissiveness. Your love becomes the very tool she uses to realize she wants to leave you. She absorbs your validation to fix her own deep insecurities, and once her cup is full, she looks down at you with cold contempt. Carl Jung explained this dark psychological reality through his study of the human shadow and projectual mechanics. Jung famously noted, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." But when an unreflective, emotionally immature woman projects her own hidden insecurities onto a good man, she begins to hate him for the very stability he provides. She resents him because his calmness highlights her inner chaos, and his devotion highlights her lack of genuine depth. Instead of doing the hard work of internal shadow integration, she projects her self-hatred onto him. She turns him into the villain of her narrative so she can justify treating him badly, by convincing herself that he is boring, controlling, or not enough. She absolves herself of all guilt, allowing her to destroy the relationship without ever facing the darkness within her own soul. This internal psychological revision explains why a woman can end a multi-year relationship so quickly, smoothly, and without a trace of remorse. Men are often completely destroyed when a long-term relationship ends, spending months analyzing what went wrong, grieving the loss, and struggling to rebuild their lives. Men break down because they make decisions in real time. A woman, however, rarely ends a relationship on the day she breaks up with you. By the time she finally sits you down and tells you it's over, she has already been mentally detached and grieving the relationship in secret for 6 months or a year. During those quiet months while you were working hard, planning a future, and believing everything was fine, she was executing a cold, silent exit strategy. She was slowly detaching her emotions, highlighting every minor flaw you possess, and rewriting the history of your relationship in her mind. She told her female friends every mistake you ever made, gathering external validation for her upcoming decision. She checked out emotionally while continuing to accept your financial and physical support. By the time she delivers the final blow, she feels zero pain because her grieving process was finished months ago. You are standing there experiencing a sudden, unexpected tragedy while she is simply executing the final step of a business transaction she signed off on long ago. To make matters worse, she often monkey branches directly to a new man within days of the breakup. To a man, this speed feels like pure evil, a total betrayal that proves the entire past was a lie. But to her evolutionary psychology, it is simply self-preservation and hypergamous transition. She built her new emotional and often physical safety net before ever letting go of the old branch. She used your stability to keep herself safe while she scouted your replacement. When she moves on so fast, it is not because she suddenly changed overnight. It is because she was never truly attached to you as a human being. She was attached to what you provided for her ego and her survival at that specific time. If you look at history, women were not always this openly cold, transactional, and quick to discard loyal men. So what changed? Why have modern women become noticeably more self-centered, hypergamous, and ruthless in relationships compared to previous generations? The answer lies in the total collapse of cultural boundaries, social accountability, and traditional values, paired with the rise of modern technology. Throughout most of human history, society enforced strict social guardrails that kept human hypergamy, lust, and greed in check for the collective stability of the community. Modesty, loyalty, family duty, and lifelong commitment were heavily rewarded, while betrayal, promiscuity, and vanity carried massive social consequences. Women were held accountable by their families, their communities, and religious structures that demanded moral discipline. In the modern world, every single one of those traditional guardrails has been completely dismantled. Today, society actively encourages, celebrates, and rewards the absolute worst traits of female nature. Modesty has been replaced by hypersexualized attention-seeking. Loyalty has been replaced by disposable dating culture, and family duty has been replaced by selfish, individualistic consumerism. Modern culture tells women that they are perpetual victims who deserve everything without ever having to earn it. They are told that accountability is oppression, that loyalty to a good man is settling, and that their youth and physical beauty give them the right to treat men as disposable assets. When you raise an entire generation of women without standards, discipline, or social consequences, you naturally produce a culture dominated by unchecked narcissism and cold self-interest. The absolute greatest engine driving this psychological degeneration is social media. Platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and modern dating apps have fundamentally mutated the female brain and destroyed the foundation of normal human relationships. Social media acts as an artificial dopamine superweapon that exploits a woman's innate desire for social validation and attention. In the past, an average woman received attention from a few local men in her town or workplace. Her perspective was grounded in reality, and she appreciated a local man who worked hard and treated her well. Today, an average woman can post a single stylized photo on Instagram or TikTok and receive hundreds of likes, private messages, and desperate compliments from men all across the globe within minutes. She opens her dating apps and sees thousands of men swiping right on her, including wealthy men, high-status men, and top-tier athletes sliding into her direct messages. This constant, artificial flood of global male attention creates a massive, dangerous illusion in her mind. Her brain cannot distinguish between a desperate man looking for a quick hookup online and a man who actually wants to offer her a committed relationship. She mistakes cheap, thirsty online attention for high personal value. As a result, her ego inflates to astronomical levels. An average woman with nothing substantial to offer in character, intellect, or skill genuinely begins to believe she belongs in the top fraction of a percent of human society. She looks at her hardworking, loyal boyfriend sitting on the couch next to her and thinks, "Why am I with this average guy when I have hundreds of rich, handsome men in my phone every single day?" Social media places a literal catalog of endless options directly in her pocket 24 hours a day, making her permanently restless, ungrateful, and incapable of deep loyalty. Her man is no longer her partner. He is just one temporary option competing against an infinite digital sea of potential upgrades. This digital illusion creates a permanent state of hypervigilance and dissatisfaction in modern relationships. The moment her man faces a temporary financial struggle, exhibits a moment of human vulnerability, or refuses to give in to her demands, she does not stand by his side to help him build. Instead, her brain immediately jumps to her phone. She thinks, "I don't have to tolerate this inconvenience. I can replace him by tonight." Social media has turned human beings into disposable consumer products. Women scroll through men the exact same way they scroll through fast fashion websites, adding them to the cart, using them for a short season, and returning them the moment a newer, shinier model catches their eye. This constant search for the next upgrade wrecks her internal ability to form deep emotional bonds. When a person is exposed to infinite choices, their brain loses the capacity for deep appreciation, long-term commitment, and genuine empathy. Every time she discards a good man for trivial reasons, her heart hardens a little bit more. She becomes increasingly cynical, calculating, and cold, blunting her capacity to feel real, selfless love. She projects her own superficiality onto the world, convincing herself that all men are trash simply because the high-status men she chases online treat her like a temporary toy, while the good men she uses offline are destroyed by her cruelty. Schopenhauer cut straight through this illusion of romantic idealism when he observed the fundamental difference between how men and women approach devotion. He wrote, "The fundamental fault of the female character is that it lacks a sense of justice." What Schopenhauer meant by justice is the capacity to act rationally according to objective principles, long-term fairness, and cold truth, rather than immediate personal feeling and selfish instinct. A man operates on an internal code of honor. If a friend or partner is loyal to him, he feels a moral duty to return that loyalty, even when it becomes difficult or costly. A woman operating purely from primitive nature, however, acts primarily on present emotional state and immediate security needs. If her emotional state changes, her loyalty vanishes instantly, and no past sacrifice you made for her will save you from being discarded. Understanding these harsh psychological truths is not meant to make you bitter, angry, or resentful toward women. Hatred and bitterness are weak, emotional reactions that consume your energy and lock you in a state of powerlessness. Accepting reality as it actually exists, rather than how you wish it were, is the ultimate form of personal power. The goal is to shatter the naive romantic programming that made you vulnerable to exploitation, so you can build an unassailable life of self-mastery, high standards, and emotional sovereignty. You must stop looking for a woman to complete you, validate your worth, or give your life meaning. The moment you make a woman the center of your universe, you set yourself up for absolute destruction. A woman is not designed to be the foundation of a man's life. She is designed to be a passenger on a journey that is already moving toward a clear, powerful destination. If you have no mission, no discipline, no physical strength, and no firm boundaries, you are an empty vessel, and a woman will naturally step in to manipulate and consume you. To survive and thrive in this modern landscape, you must adopt the mindset of the top 1% of men, not by chasing cheap wealth or superficial status, but by mastering your own mind, body, and destiny. You must build a body forged through heavy physical struggle, develop a mind sharpened by deep philosophy and cold logic, and cultivate a life mission that you refuse to compromise for anyone. When you build real internal strength, your entire presence shifts. You no longer walk into the dating world like a desperate beggar searching for affection. You stand like a sovereign individual who demands absolute respect and unwavering loyalty before allowing anyone into his inner circle. You must implement strict, unbreakable boundaries from the very beginning of any interaction with a woman. Never tolerate disrespect, coldness, or manipulative games. The moment a woman demonstrates that she is testing your boundaries, using you for attention, or looking past you for better options, you must have the courage to walk away immediately without arguing, pleading, or looking back. Your greatest power as a man is your absolute willingness to walk away and stay gone. A man who cannot leave a toxic situation is a slave to it. But a man who can calmly look a woman in the eyes, recognize her disrespect, and walk away into his own solitude without a single trace of regret becomes completely immune to emotional manipulation. Learn to appreciate solitude not as a punishment, but as a sacred sanctuary where your strength is forged. In solitude, you answer to no one. Your focus remains undivided, and your resources belong entirely to your own vision. When you master the art of being complete on your own, you strip women of the power to hurt, manipulate, or control you. If a worthy, high-character woman who respects your mission and adds genuine value to your life crosses your path, you can welcome her as a companion for the journey. But if she strays, disrespected your standards, or succumbs to the cheap distractions of modern culture, you can cut the line smoothly, wish her well, and continue walking your path without missing a single step. The modern world is designed to drain your energy, break your spirit, and keep you trapped in a cycle of desperation and weak emotional attachment. Rise above the noise of the crowd. Stop giving away your gold to those who treat it like dirt. Sharpen your intellect, master your physical form, Honor your purpose and build a life so strong, grounded, and self-sufficient that no person on earth can ever shake your peace.